And Ellie, we should point out, obviously, there's a positive reaction from the local community because it means jobs. But a lot in the industry are scratching their heads at this because certainly the steel producers, British Steel and Tata, say they won't be buying this particular coal.
Absolutely, Mark. This has been a debate here for the past 8 years, and it really is a controversial one. Where I'm stood now is the site of the old Hague pit. Now, this was closed down in the 80s, but it still stands today and just shows how important mining was and still is to this community. On this site, for the past 800 years, mining has taken place, and we now know that a new coal mine has been granted planning permission just a mile over that hill behind my shoulder. So there is lots of support from the local mining communities that are here, but this is a very controversial issue. It's already been pushed back 3 times. It's been debated for 8 years, but last night we got that 419-page decision from the independent planning inspector who granted permission with the approval of Michael Gove, the Secretary of State for Levelling Up, for a new coal mine to be built in Whitehaven. Now, where I'm stood now, Mark, I can actually see the tip of Scotland. We are really in the heart of the Red Wall in the north of England here. Many people here voting Tory for the first time in 2019. And speaking to people here this morning, they say to me that this is the first signs they've seen of levelling up in action, investment in the north of England. They are very happy about this news. Earlier, I spoke to David Moore, who's the Deputy Mayor of Copeland, where we are now. I spoke to him and asked his reaction to this news.
Absolutely delighted. The community's in celebration mode today. They've been waiting for this news for 8 years. So we're absolutely delighted to hear now that that's been approved. Mining's in the DNA of the people here. I mean, coal's been mined here for 700 years. It only stopped in the 80s. There's a lot of people, looking forward to getting back into that work. It's going to create 500 local jobs. Probably another 1,500 in the supply chain. And the great thing with those jobs, it's diversification from what we've already got here. So, the community's fully behind this project, always has been.
There is a huge positive reaction in this community, Mark, especially because Whitehaven has much higher levels of unemployment compared to other areas of the country. They're very pleased about the jobs it will offer. But others that I've been speaking to are absolutely appalled with this decision. They say it feels like we're going back to the 80s. We're not headed in the right direction. And they told me this morning they feel like we're hypocrites, the UK, on the world stage because we preach about a green agenda and then give planning permission for a new coal mine. Well, earlier I spoke to Carol Wood, who's from the South Lakes Action on Climate Change group. They've been one of the most vocal groups against this coal mine, and she gave me her reaction to this news.
Appointed South Lakes Action on Climate Change worked really hard on this public inquiry, and we were able to get a lot of support from a lot of people to participate in the public inquiry. We were pleased it got to that stage. But this is a completely backward step for UK climate action and, in fact, global action.
And Ellie, we can see the old winding wheel there behind you in the building. It looks almost like a museum. How soon could it be before it's actually in production and they can get the coal out of the ground?
Well, yes, it is actually a museum, Mark, and it is an area that people would come and visit, a very tourist-friendly area. It's not actually clear when production could start. It would hoped it could be in the next few weeks and months, but ministers are preparing for a legal challenge on this decision, which could delay this a lot longer. And speaking to the climate change groups this morning, they were all considering legal action. They were consulting with lawyers, so we could hear about those legal challenges in the next few days, which would put a delay on this decision. The developer, West Cumbria Mining, hasn't actually spoken to the press at all today. They have decided to keep quiet, perhaps because they are aware that these judicial challenges or legal challenges could be coming down the road. But they have said that they are going to try and deliver the world's first net zero mine. They plan to offset any emissions from the construction, mining and domestic transport phases of this operation. And that is the response they give to environmental groups. And they also make the point that this has been mooted for 8 years, and it is an independent commissioner who went into this report, 419 pages, and they say all of these arguments have already been put to an independent panel, and they have come back with the decision that a new coal mine should be built on this land. So they say this is the straightforward answer.